This is 2026, and let me tell you a few things you ought to know about braids if you don't yet know in 2026. So my client came, and this is her hair. She has the thick grain hair, the thick grain 4C African hair, and we are going to be doing half cornrows, half stitch braids. This is progress report. So we are doing twist braids, and if you don't yet know how to do twist braids in 2026, I'm going to drop a tutorial. This is progress report, and this is how everything is going. So you see this video is so you see the grain of hair she has, the strands of hair she has. Let me not call it grain. And if you don't yet know how to trim hair in 2026, I see a lot of you do hair and you don't trim, you just leave it there like that. You ought to trim, and this is exactly how you trim. You don't trim from top to bottom, you trim from bottom to top. Never forget that. And you're trimming both sides. Don't do that thing. You just take your scissors and you're just doing something like that and you say you've trimmed hair. You're trimming both sides. You're trimming the first side, you're trimming up, then you trim down. You're trimming left, then you trim right, exactly as I'm doing in the video. When you're trimming, do not use a sharp scissors, an extremely sharp scissors when you're trimming hair, especially if you are not an expert. Even an expert is bound to make mistakes with an extremely sharp scissors. You have to use a moderate scissors. The type of scissors you don't use to cut mesh is the type of scissors you use to trim hair, because it is very effective, especially when it comes to twist braids. Twist braids is very logical. And if you don't yet know how to make coils on braids with flexi rods, this is exactly how you do it. You have to make sure when you take out your hair, you brush your hair first to make sure it is detangled, to make sure it does not have any tangling parts there, because that is the most important thing, making sure it is detangled. When you take your hair, you make sure they are all on the same length. Where you have to coil, it is all on the same length. No one has to be longer than the other. When you're done packing them on the same length, you brush them with your brush. The same hairbrush you use to brush your mesh is the same hairbrush you will use to brush the hair. So once you're done brushing, that is where your flexi rod comes in. You take your flexi rod, you place underneath the hair where you are supposed to coil, where it is meant to be coiled. Then you wrap. When you wrap like this, you have to make sure you secure with your thumb, with your left thumb. Then you keep on rubbing and going, and make sure when you're rubbing, it has to be firm. The coils has to be really firm, the mesh has to be really firm. When you're done rubbing everything, you secure down the flexi rods, then come up where you secure with your thumb and you secure with the flexi rods. And make sure you don't wrap where braids are. You have to wrap just where it has not been braided, where it is meant to be coiled. Don't wrap where braids are, because if you wrap where braids are, it's going to make your braids coil too. So exactly like as it is done in this video, make sure everything is on the same length. You can see here that the hair, where it is twisted and where it ends, when the twist ends, that is where I'm holding. Where you hold there, you place your flexi rods under and you start to wrap. When you're wrapping, make sure you secure with your hand and make sure your coils are extremely tight, exactly the way I'm doing here. If you make your coils loose, when you take out your flexi rods, they are going to be loose too. So you have to make sure they are extremely tight, so it gives you tight coils that are almost similar to thread coils. So that is exactly how you get it. And when you're done with this part, then you move on to the next part, which is putting your coils in water, your coils with flexi rod in water. Don't be scared to put your flexi rod in hot water. Nothing will happen to it. It is not going to shrink that much. It is not going to swell that much too. So you make sure you apply the bottom first. When you apply the bottom, you wait for at least a minute before you apply your whole hair into the hot water. You are doing this so the coils are super tight. The coils are super tight. When you do that, you take it out of water. You don't even need to press at this moment with a towel. You just need to leave it to drain, and you make sure you leave it to cool down and drain totally. It must not drain totally, but it must be really cold before you take out your flexi rods, because if you take out your flexi rods when it is still hot, your coils will not come out as you want them to. So you have to make sure it is cold before you are taking out your flexi rod. It must not drain. When you take out when you take it out from water and it is cold, you can decide to use your hand dryer, your blow dryer, to blow it completely, to drain it completely. Depends on the client's need, depends on what you offer, but you can decide to use your hand dryer at this point. For me, I use my hand dryer sometimes, and sometimes I don't use my hand dryer. It depends on the client's needs. Once I'm done with all that, we'll get to the part of pressing the hair. You have to make sure when you do braids, you have to press with hot water. You're pressing with hot water so you don't have rashes on the hair, and so any part that is too tight becomes a little bit loose. That's why you're pressing with hot water, with a hot towel. So the towel has to be hot, extremely hot. You can leave it to cool just a little bit, but make sure the towel is hot. When you're done pressing, you're pressing the braids on the scalp. You press the braids that is hanging, and then here comes the most important part, which is taking out your flexi rods. You take out your flexi rods exactly the way you apply them. You don't pull. When you pull, it can make your coils long or straight. So you have to take it out exactly the way you apply, the same way you wrapped your hair around it, the same way you're going to unwrap. And here we have our end result, our half cornrow, half stitch twist braids, and it is perfect. My clients loved it. I love doing this. If you want to watch more videos like this, drop a comment and say more, please.